and welcome back to another episode of the Wavy Pod. My name's Lucia, and I'm your host. I'm so excited to have you back. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the little T about influencers and content creation, and primarily influencers and content creators going back to a 9 to 5, which seems to be a new wave that I see going on TikTok a lot. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, so I keep seeing videos on TikTok of different content creators and influencers. We're just going to say content creators for the entirety of the episode so that I don't have to go back and forth between the words content creator and influencer. At the end of the day, they're kind of the same thing. They do have a few differences, and we can talk about the differences on another episode. But for today's episode, we're just going to say content creators, and by that I mean both content creators and influencers. But I have been seeing a wave of content creators on TikTok talking about how they were a full-time content creator and they're now switching to a corporate 9 to 5, just essentially, quote unquote, what they call it is just like a normal job, a corporate job, a 9 to 5 job. They all have different reasons as to why they decided to make the move. And in my opinion, this is neither good or bad. This is just something that happens. Someone just makes a choice, makes a decision, and then it happens. Like there's nothing wrong with it. This is not considered backtracking. This is not considered bad. This is not considered going a step back or a step forward. Like both worlds are independent of each other. Not one is better than the other one, and not one is like the place to be at. And I just want to make that clear because I have seen a lot of people saying that the ultimate goal is content creation, but then content creation is not for everybody. And let's say you do content creation for a year and you're like, you know what, this is not for me. And then you go back to like a corporate job, a 9 to 5 job. It's neither good or bad. It's nothing. It's literally independent from being a content creator. Like it's not a step forward and it's not a step back. Potentially it is progress for you because you did realize that content creation is not for you. So you made progress, you made a lot of growth in realizing that you were in a career that wasn't for you, or potentially that was your content creation era and then you switched out of that era and now you're back to being a corporate girly and that's your new era. We all have different eras in our lives and you needed to go through that in order for you to realize that that's what you wanted to do. And now it's not. And now you want to switch out to something else. Like potentially you could be doing something for 20 years and you did it for 20 years and you're like, you know what? I'm done with that world. I want to continue on to doing something else with my life. And that becomes your new era. That becomes your new life. And that's totally okay. So for the girlies out there that are listening that are in a full-time position and then they're considering and deciding that they potentially want to go back to a 9 to 5, just remember that it's not a step back. It's just part of your story. You could have different reasons as to why that is part of your story. It could be that either you didn't like influencing, it's not for you, it's not fulfilling enough for you, or influencing is not providing you with the type of income that you want, or you're not able to progress with doing your content creation, or you want something more secure. And with that, I do want to tell you here like a few things that and a few reasonings as to why you could potentially choose to have a 9 to 5 instead of being a full-time content creator. And a few of those is the stability with income, like you know exactly how much money you're going to be getting every single month, every single week. Then it's also the structure of the job. You come into work and you either have a manager or you're the own manager, and you usually have someone above you who is helping you structure your everyday, structure your team, structure your life. Then you also have a definite check-in time and a checkout time. So you have a definite time that you're going to clock in, do your work, and you clock out. It's your life and you do what you please with your life afterwards. Then you also have benefits, which content creation doesn't give you benefits. You have to do it on your own. You're a business owner. The human connection, the human aspect of things, because content creation can be really lonely. When you're at home creating all these videos, you're at home the whole day by yourself. And there are several things that you could do to have that human connection. And I have been able to successfully do them. And I do feel that I still miss that human connection, but I am doing other things to fulfill that side of me that are helping, that are making it better. But yeah, content creation is pretty lonely. It does get lonely because that's what you do all day, every day. And I know that for people who work remotely at home in a 9 to 5 corporate job, it feels lonely for them as well. Like you don't have that human connection. And you probably miss that. And you're like, you know what, at a 9 to 5, I'm going to have a team. I'm going to have people that are like family to me that I can mingle with and hang out with and just have that human connection. And like everything in this life, everything has its pros and its cons. The grass is not greener on the other side. Okay. And I think for me specifically, like, I think I could be a great example of someone who has done pretty much a lot of things. Like, I've had my share of jobs throughout my life, and the first, I've done retail, I've done banking, I've done a corporate job, like a regular 9 to 5 job, and then my latest one was a Big Four accounting firm where I was working 40 to 60 hours, potentially sometimes 70 hours. And there was a couple of weeks that we did 80 hours, which is the most insane thing of my life. I don't think I've ever done anything as crazy as that. That was hardcore. Like, I just remember that and I get PTSD because that's just not normal story. And that's another story for another day. We could probably do another podcast on that. Let me know if you're interested in hearing about my Big Four accounting firm life, my big four accounting firm girly era, and we can talk about that on another episode. But to continue on, I do have the experience of someone who has done both sides. So I've always been the type of person who has been doing a lot at once. So when I was working at the bank or working on my 9 to 5, I was also going to school full time. So I never had like the full on college experience where you're just able to go to college and then that's it. Like, I was always working full time. And then after I graduated from college, I was working at the Big Four accounting firm, which essentially meant that it was also potentially like two full time jobs. But also at the same time, I was doing content creation until content creation became my full time. And I was just doing content full time. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because there's been a lot of people who have been saying that the reason as to why they're quitting content creation is because they feel that they're losing brain cells with content creation. They feel that they're not getting exposed to new challenges and new skills, and just they don't feel fulfilled and they're bored. And to me, when I heard that, I thought it was just the craziest thing in the world, because it's kind of like they took content creation and they put it in this little box, in this little tiny, teeny box, and they put just like a few, like, you make a couple videos, get your check, and call it a day kind of thing. And content creation is nowhere near just that. Like, content creation is a whole nother animal. Content creation is literally huge and the opportunities are endless. Okay. The issue lies when you put content creation in this little teeny tiny box. And because content creation is a full blown business, it doesn't fit in a box. And it's not just a business, it's an endless possibility of businesses. Okay. It's so much more complicated than people are making it seem. And if you're a content creator, you have to be an entrepreneur at the same time. So in order for you to be a content creator, you need to acquire that entrepreneurial mindset. And having an entrepreneurial mindset means being creative, being an innovator. Okay. That's literally one of the biggest skills of being an entrepreneur and being a content creator, is being an innovator and just being creative with the things that you do every day. And those are very important, because without that, you don't have a business. Just creating content alone is not going to pay the bills. You could have hundreds of thousands of followers and not make a single dime. You could have, literally, there's creators out there that have 1 million followers and they don't monetize their socials. They don't know how to monetize their socials. They don't have any income to back them up. Like, it's literally the craziest thing in the world. Just look it up and you'll see that there are a ton of content creators that struggle with this. There's no being a full-time content creator full-time without you having that entrepreneurial mindset, without you having that business mindset, without you being an innovator and being creative with the things that you do every single day. That creativity is what's going to get you the ideas for different videos that you could do, of course, like that one's a known, but it's also going to help you with monetizing your social media, with thinking about different income streams that you could have, with the type of connections that you could have with people, because you are going to have a lot of opportunities where you meet people and you need to know what to do with that. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Like, it's not just that, which is where the creativity comes in. Don't put yourself in a little box. You need to start thinking outside the box. That also happens when you're like scrolling too much and you overconsume and you have an overload of information in your head from everything. Like, it's really hard to be creative when you do that. It needs to be a little bit more limited. It needs to be controlled. It needs to be timed to let yourself be creative. Also, content creation is very glamorized online. That's just one of those things that you see on art that someone posted, and you create this narrative in your head as to how the artist could have potentially created that piece of art. And then you're like, oh my God, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Like, that seems so easy. But you don't really know the whole process of what the artist went through to create that piece of art. You just have the narrative and the idea of what you think took to get there, but you keep telling yourself that you would love to do that. And then the moment comes in which you are doing that and you're like, okay, yes, I want this to be my full-time job. And then the time comes in which it is your full-time job and you're like, this is not what I expected. This is not what I signed up for. This is not as I imagined it in my head. That narrative in my head was telling me something completely different, and it's not that. Or it is that, but it's so much more than just that. And that's when you realize that content creation is potentially not for you, because it was so glamorized at the beginning that you thought the glamour and that lifestyle is what you were getting with it, but it's not just that. And potentially it's nowhere near that. You could have a completely different story than somebody else. Again, being a content creator, it's not for everybody. It's something that it is very glamorized online, and for the people that it is for them, it's a dream come true. So for example, for me, it's literally my dream job. Like, I am the happiest person alive doing what I do every single day. And to the point, going back to the point of what those people were saying, that content creation was being a full time content creator was making them lose brain cells, was making them be bored, was making them not be creative every day and not learning new skills every day. It's just the craziest thing to me, because content creation is what you make of it. So if for you it is that, it is boring, it is not innovative enough, it's not challenging enough, you're not learning new skills every day, that's on you. You're your own boss. You're the one controlling your life. You're the one who is the CEO of your business. So if those things aren't happening, then there's a bigger issue that's behind it. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But also, don't blame the job itself for not having those things, if that makes sense. Like, blame yourself and see whether you could make it better by incorporating those things, by being creative, by being an innovator, and learning of new ways as to how you could learn new skills every day, how you could launch a new business every day. What steps does it take to start this new business with, like, printing planners for people, or a candle business, or I don't know, any business that that's where you got to be creative. And also, there's an actual scientific reason as to why you were feeling bored. It's because you were doing the exact same things every single day. And when you do the exact same things every single day, your brain is not being stimulated enough learning that new skill. And the human brain has an inherent need for novelty. Like, we need to be constantly learning. And when we don't, our dopamine starts to decrease, and we're like, what is going on? Like, this is so boring. And that's what leads to the boredom. And sometimes a repetitive and monotonous, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. But just the same tasks every single day, and you're doing the exact same every single day, that's when you start feeling that you're not learning new skills, that you're not incorporating any challenging tasks for your daily life every day for your brain. And a lot of times content creation does involve the same things every single day. It really just depends, but you could say that if all you're doing every single day is brainstorming ideas, filming, editing, responding to emails, posting, like, yeah, it could get repetitive, it could get boring if that's all you do. Like, you need to start challenging yourself with different things that you could be doing. Like, it's not just that that's putting content creation in the little teeny tiny box that I'm telling you about, and just saying, like, oh yeah, that's all content creation is. Like, it's not. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. The opportunities are endless. The possibilities of your daily life are endless. And it depends on what type of content creation you're doing as well. If it's Instagram, if it's TikTok, if it's YouTube. And then with that, it also goes with what type of content creator you are. What's your niche? What do you do? Do you go to events? Are you organizing them? Are you helping with the creative concept? You could be a consultant, you could be a model, there's so much. There's literally so much, and it's so crazy to me that these people are saying that that's the reason why they're quitting content creation. And again, I'm not saying that quitting is good or bad. It's neither, and it's not a step forward or back. It's neither. Actually, again, it is a step forward because you're realizing that you don't like it. So it is growth. So it is a step forward. So let me take that back. Quitting influencing and going back to a 9 to 5, or quitting your 9 to 5 and going to influencing, whatever is your latest step, is growth, is a step forward. And again, I'm not saying that content creation it's the best, it's the decision that you should be taking, or going back to your job is the decision that you should be taking. Like, it's neither. It's whatever you think it's going to be best for your career, and you have your choices. Content creation is what you make of it. And if you're an innovator, if you're creative, you're never going to be bored. Like, I can't remember the last time I was bored. And I'm talking about like probably the last time I was bored was in my teenage years. I've always been the type of person that's always on like go, 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 doing something. I love staying busy. I love doing things. And I do understand that there isn't an issue that lies between being an innovator and being a creative, and putting out your best work when you have bills to pay, and when you have the overwhelming pressure of making sure that you have all your bills paid for, with also ensuring that you're your most creative self, with also ensuring that you're putting out your best work. Like, there is a little bit of a struggle in that sense. So I could say that potentially I could see why somebody might have more difficulty with being creative and being an innovator if you're worried about paying your bills. Like, that makes total sense, which I've gone through that. Like, sometimes you're just so worried about that because it's so inconsistent financially that you're like, okay, I just need to figure out how to make more money. I don't really have the time to be creative and being innovative in that sense. But that's also the one thing that forces you to be creative, because you have to get creative in the fact that, like, okay, I don't have brand partnerships this month. What am I going to do differently when it comes to my financials and my streams of income in order for me to be able to pay for all the bills? So, yes, it's very inconsistent. Yes, you have to think about all of those things before you actually jump into it. And with that, I have seen a couple of videos on TikTok. So on TikTok, they do these. I don't know if you're on TikTok or not. I'm on TikTok a lot. But there is a couple of videos on TikTok where people make these predictions for the different type of content and the type of the new trends that we're going to have. And a lot of people made these trends saying that the new wave of influencers are going to be influencers and content creators that have both a full-time job and they do content creation full-time. And I just thought that was so funny when I saw that, because I feel like that's been the thing for years now. Like, that's been like, that was me, and that's a lot of people that I know. In order for them to be a full-time content creator, they had to go through being a full-time content creator and work their 9 to 5 at the same time until they were able to quit one of them. And so it's just funny to see that people are saying, "Oh, that's the new wave. That's the new wave," when in reality that's been a thing for since forever. But with that, I do see the wave of how the content itself is changing a lot. And now essentially it's not just showing up your glamorous or your glamorized lifestyle of being like a content creator, having that like glamorous life that seems so out of touch and so crazy and so out there. Now it's more of, okay, I have this job, my career is this, and then you show a day in the life of doing that, just showing off what like a normal day for you looks like. And that's been a trend for a little bit, but I do see it being like even bigger than that. I do see it being huge. And there's a lot of, so people are hungry for companionship. And when you can show them, take them along with you throughout your entire day, and it's just your normal day, and it's just you going to your 9 to 5, picking out your outfit for your 9 to 5, and just vlogging the whole day, but you can package it and communicate it in such a way that it's captivating, then those are the type of videos that are going crazy right now. Like, there's this one guy on TikTok that's a chef for a billionaire, and he's vlogging his entire day, and it is a crazy job. Okay, like, don't get me wrong, that's super catchy. Like, as soon as you see that, you're like, oh my god, let me see that. But also the way that he's packaging it, and that's the biggest thing, that's the most important thing. The way that he's packaging it is very thoughtful. Like he knows exactly how to storytell his life in order for him to be captivating enough. And now he's just blowing up. And if you do have a 9 to 5 and you are a content creator at the same time, then you're winning. Like you can show your life exactly like that. And it is difficult to do. Like when I was doing both, I did get very burned out. I was having mental breakdowns every single week, but also I didn't have a normal 9 to 5. I was still working at the Big Four accounting firm. So I was working a lot more than just a regular 9 to 5. It wasn't just at 5 I checked out. It was more like a 9 to 8, a 9 to 9. It was just chaos. It was crazy. I'm telling you, I literally had mental breakdowns every single week. But if you did have like a regular 9 to 5, then show your life, show everything that you do. People are hungry for that. They want that companionship. And I do see another trend. I just love talking about the trends too, but I do see another trend of just like the lives, when you're live streaming on TikTok, just the lives being more of companionship as well. So it's going to be something more like literally we're both just watching TV and we're on a live, like we're live with people to have that companionship with them. And yeah, they're a little crazy, but the crazy things sometimes are the ones that make it big and become an actual thing. And with that, the last thing that I want to say and the last thing that I want to leave you with is to take everything that you see online with a grain of salt. Like, I know you know that. I know you know the theory of that. I know you've heard that before, but actually put it into practice. Actually take everything that you see online with a grain of salt. Because if you see someone saying, I'm quitting influencing to go back to my 9 to 5 because I'm losing brain cells, then that's potentially going to go in your head and say, oh my God, I'm losing brain cells. Oh my God, I'm a full-time content creator and I'm losing brain cells. Is she right? Is she? Am I challenging myself enough every single day? And you start questioning yourself. And that's how influential a lot of these videos could be. So just make sure to look at everything with a grain of salt. That's one of the reasons as to why I made this video in the first place. It's because I wanted to ensure that the people that might have felt some sort of way because of that understand another side of the story, which again, like I'm not saying I'm right, they're right. Like at the end of the day, we could all be right at the same time and be wrong at the same time. But just understanding a different side of the story to stop internalizing those things and potentially be thinking about those things when it wasn't even an issue to begin with. And the same goes with the other side. If you have a 9 to 5 job and you're considering quitting your job to be a full-time content creator, make sure that you're doing an educated decision when it comes to that. And if you're doing both, then you're winning. And that's all we have for this podcast episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave me a review. That will help me a ton. And have a beautiful morning, afternoon, night. Bye.